Hour number 2 of the show here on your Thursday. Good to have you with us, Matt and Patrick. The Twins are just bludgeoning the Arizona Diamondbacks right now. 11-1 is the score right now. They just got a home run, which kind of knocked around the no-hitter we had going, but that's one way to end it quick. Needless to say, the Twins are looking pretty good as they finish out that series in Arizona. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. We have talked a little bit about the importance of the election coming up here. Senate District 45, which includes Minnetonka, Wayzata, Excelsior, and Mound. They're going to have a special election. Why? Because their state senator, Kelly Morrison, is currently running to take the Minnesota 3rd congressional seat in the U.S. House. That brings back one of my favorite senators we've actually had, who is running currently for the special election coming up in November. Ann Johnson Stewart, former senator, now running for Senate District 45, is kind enough to join us today to talk about her decision to get back into politics and what she wants to bring to that district. Hi, Senator. How are you today?
Wow, I'm great. You're so nice to me. I don't know how I earned the rank of your favorite, but I sure appreciate it.
No, you forget. I had you on for a few years when we were doing the Democrat of the Day stuff, and you were a delight. Yep. And it was always tough when they did that redistricting, because your district and a lot of other districts, it was good quality Democrats against good quality Democrats, and it was painful because it was, that's always hard when something like that happens.
Yeah. It was really hard because I didn't get to go back to work.
Oh, well, now I think you've got a fairly decent chance now as you've made this decision. So let's start there. So the seat comes open. There's going to be a special election. At what point do you say to yourself, you know what, I'm going to go back for this? I mean, I got redistricted out of my seat. I want to try to get back into the Minnesota Senate.
So I loved being in the Senate, but when I was there, I was in the minority. So I didn't get a lot done. I was really sad that I didn't get to run again. And so in the time between when I ended the last session and I started to get organized to run again, I still did a lot of stuff around infrastructure. So I coordinated the Minnesota Infrastructure Alliance and did a whole bunch of volunteer work and kept in touch with all my friends in the Senate because I just really felt like I had more to offer. And then last October, when Kelly Morrison announced she was running, I started to rub my hands together and say, Kelly's probably going to win. I better get my act together. So I revived my website and my campaign account, and I started raising money, and then I just treaded water until she actually resigned. So I actually made the decision last fall when I started to figure out what might happen, and I'm really glad I did, because then when Senator Morrison resigned, I already had money, I already had signs and literature and a campaign team, so we could just hit the ground like running, racing. So it's been just an unbelievable gift to me because, I just was kind of floundering looking for some way to contribute, and to be able to run for Senate again it's just unbelievable. So I feel very grateful, and I'm not going to squander the opportunity.
Oh, bless you for doing it, because you always were quality when you were there working before in the Senate. For a reminder for everyone, when you were in the Senate before, what committees were you involved in there?
Well, I was involved in 3 committees that were just perfect for me given my work experience. I was on the bonding committee. If you remember, I'm a civil engineer. I'm sure you didn't forget because I talk about that all the time. I was on the transportation committee with Senator Dibble, which was a great joy. And then I was also on the jobs committee, which I also loved because I've been doing workforce development with MnDOT and Met Council for decades. So jobs, capital investment or bonding, and transportation. And frankly, those would be the 3 that I would love to get back involved with.
Well, and I mean, it's a real opportunity here for, I think, the DFL, bringing someone in. I mean, you lose something like this, and obviously, Senator Morrison, I mean, it's an opportunity for her to go up at the U.S. House there, but it's to have somebody as seasoned as you. I was like, when I saw your name, I was reading the Reformer, and I saw you saying to run. I was like, oh, thank God. Yes, there is that. That is exactly who, because the Republicans are so desperate to pick up this seat, they are going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at you, and I imagine they already have started to do that.
I don't know. I subscribe to all the Republican kinds of newsletters and dailies because when I was in the Senate, they already were kind of picking on me. So I wanted to know what was being said about me, which was actually always untrue. So I haven't seen anything yet, but I'm sure they're digging through my garbage cans and looking for something. I promise I have not thrown any tarantulas at anybody, and I've also not been doing any other funny stuff. So
no Miami strip, no Miami strip clubs. You're saying nothing like that, huh? Okay.
No. Oh my gosh, I record everything to the nearest dollar. Like I'm so afraid of getting audited. So no, they're not going to find anything like that about me.
It's the landscape has changed though. The Dobbs ruling and then this insidious hatred particularly towards the LGBTQIA plus community has come on out, and it is so important now. I mean, you're bringing a lot with your past resume, but as well, I know those are two issues. Obviously, women's rights very important to you, but the way that the right has vilified the LGBTQIA plus community, especially as we're heading into Pride Weekend, I know that this is something where we need to have people like you in that Senate to stop the hate bills and the anti-woman bills from being introduced by the Republicans.
Oh, thank you. Somebody actually approached me at the Office Max 2 days ago to talk to me about some anti-trans feelings she had, and I was prepared. I mean, I was prepared to shut her down in a respectful way. I think one of the gifts that I bring is I've been on the Senate floor, and that is scary, and you need to be smart and prepared. And people will say things that are, either just not untrue or misleading at best. And you know what? I was ready for her, and I pleasantly exchanged my viewpoints, and then I walked away. I wasn't going to change her mind, but I was also not going to let her have that narrative. Mm-hmm. And I felt really good about that. That's another reason I want to get back, is I feel like the 2 years I spent there, I really made relationships with people and have an understanding of how it all works. So I expect I'll be a much more effective legislator if I get the chance to serve again.
All right. And obviously, there is a Democratic primary going to be going on here coming up in August. Yep. And then, of course, the general election coming this fall. And it is because of the nature of this, the special election will be coming up here on Election Day itself. There's not a special day for this one. This will be in November with the rest of the elections.
Exactly. So Senator Morrison was strategic and kind enough to resign. I'm sure that was a really difficult thing for her, but she did so in enough days prior to November 5th that we can be on the ballot with all the others on that same day. And so it's going to be much easier to campaign as a group, and it's just going to be a much easier election for us. Although it's going to be difficult, it's still going to be much better because it's on the November 5th, and we don't have a special election. So
I'm going to give you one in your wheelhouse, one outside of your wheelhouse, although it's somewhat in your wheelhouse. But we'll start with the one that's in your wheelhouse. Minnetonka, Wayzata, Excelsior, I believe, is it Mound as well is in on this?
There's 15. Yep, there's 15 small cities. Do you want to know all of them?
Well, Woodland's one of them. My parents lived in Woodland for a while.
Deep Haven, Greenwood, Excelsior. It even goes as far out as St. Bonifacius, Mound, Orono, Long Lake, Shorewood. And I'm not looking at anything, so I'm sure I missed one. Woodland is still in there. Wayzata, I don't know if you said that.
Yes, of course.
15 small communities. And, I think I'm a really good selection for this job because those 15 small communities, one of their main issues is infrastructure, especially around water. Those communities were built with infrastructure for little fishing cabins,
Yeah.
And now they've got some, 10, 20,000 square foot houses. Some communities don't have fire hydrants. I mean, we really need to update the infrastructure to meet where the district is now. Mm-hmm. So I'm already working on that. I've got some ideas.
Well, and you also, and I'm going to very point, by the way, and a nice flashback. I remember in the '80s, the old fishing cabins that used to be on Minnetonka, and they're all gone now.
Yeah.
And the growth that's happened out on that West Metro has been, it's been good, but it's been a lot. You still have Highway 7 on the south side of the lake. You have Highway 12, 394 on the north side of the lake. Highway 12 particularly. These are roads that have been redone, but I think with the kind of growth that you've seen, I think there needs to be. Would you agree that there needs to be a revisiting on those major highways? Once again, not just for your district, but obviously other districts that use those roads. What is your thoughts on that? Are we looking at needing to basically considering the volume of traffic on those roads? Kind of do some more studies and make them safer.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Highway 7 is already under study by MnDOT, and I was actually having input in that when I was a senator before.
Okay.
That is, the traffic levels on that road are significantly higher even in the last 5 years. And so the fact that there's not only red lights that people sometimes don't stop in time for, but there's also what we call uncontrolled access. So, if you drive by Excelsior, you'll notice that there's some places where people come in at a very steep angle and it's horizontally. Okay, now I'm talking engineering, but that's bad for sight distance, because think about coming up to a yield sign and having to crane your neck super far back. People can't see cars coming. And so that's really dangerous with high volume, but also high speed. So I just posted a survey today on one of my social media sites that said, let's please have your input, because, we had a fatality out there not long ago.
Yes.
Actually, we had 2 fatalities in my recent memory. So we need to do something about that. And then it's not just, oh my gosh, it's County Road 15 also has significant traffic.
Yes.
County Road 19.
101.
101.
Yeah.
Yep. And the speeds are unsafe. I worked on the county road safety plan, so we know what kind of things we can do to slow people down. But I just worry, there's people who have driveways out onto those streets, and I just worry about kids or bikers or whatever. So that'll be another area where I'll be able to lend my expertise, because I'm a road person.
Oh, I know.
Mostly.
Well,
I also love water.
My mother-in-law used to live off of Kings Drive there. That was an adventure. You're coming down Highway 7 and you got to take basically a 90-degree right turn. They shut down that. I know what you're talking about, because they shut down that access point because it just wasn't safe. You can do that and look at it, and I like that idea. I think you bring a lot there. But I want to go to one other thing here, just in your background. You teach classes over at the University of Minnesota. Now, obviously, University of Minnesota is not necessarily in your district, but as a state senator, you're looking at larger issues across the board. Talk about some of your thoughts on higher education, not just at the U, but statewide here. What are some of the things that you would like to maybe help with? If you're not on these education committees per se, but what you could bring to the table with higher education.
Well, actually, this hasn't been vetted, so I might be saying some controversial things here, but I actually was director of one of the academic programs for 15 years. I directed the construction management program. So I understand how money works when it's tied to, we always call it butts and seats, like how many students are actually sitting in a class, and how the money works between departments. I also taught at Dunwoody and St. Paul Tech. And one thing that I would love to look at is how we can maintain some of these tech schools and colleges in the face of declining enrollment, like Bemidji State, by maybe centering certain programs at some places and not having them at others. So, again, that's controversial because, for example, the U of M used to be the only place you could get a civil engineering degree in Minnesota. Well, now you can go to Duluth, St. Thomas, Dunwoody, and Mankato, and even Northwestern. And that's great, super great for kids, but not super great for the university because our numbers continue to decline. And, that's a state college, and tuition is going up, you've just read in the paper. And the reason it's going up is because some programs have not recovered since COVID. So, all those civil programs, that's great, but when we look at other programs, why we just really need to be thoughtful about where we're starting new programs or where we can consolidate. And my expertise as a former director of a program, I think is going to be really helpful. While still, I mean, can you imagine if Bemidji State closed, what that would do to the community? That's like the center of the community. Yeah. So I really value public education. It's really important. And I don't have the solution right now, but those are the kinds of things I'm thinking about.
Well, and what you're picking up is something they've done in other areas too, not necessarily in Minnesota, but they by working together and consolidating degrees and having certain schools carry certain degrees, it makes the entire system stronger. I've seen that work, and I hope you do vet that out a little bit more, because I think that's a really smart move. I was just up in Ely last week, and I saw their the college they have up there. You know, one of the things I know, some of those colleges have been able to survive by basically working with other colleges to make sure they're focused better, and that ends up giving them a better product. And so, yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
Okay, I want to say one more thing. I know I probably went over, but we went to Ely for the bonding tour, and they have a surveying program up there. They have surveying in place. Now, the challenge is they only have 2 students, but they have all the equipment, and they have staff and all this other stuff. So students don't major in surveying there, but they use it for other jobs, like forestry and stuff. But I know that we have an emergency need for surveyors in Minnesota.
Oh, yeah.
So one thing we could do is look at where do we have a foothold. So like in Ely, man, if I was back in the Senate, I would be figuring out, strategizing, how do we draw students to Ely to study surveying? Like, can you imagine? There are some people who that's like their dream college experience. And I just ran out of time. But that's an example of how you can look strategically at where industry needs the jobs and they need the training. You cannot be just a plain old surveyor and do the work that we need right now, like registered land surveyors are desperately needed. So that's just an example of how you can look at it strategically, work with the colleges, and I would just love to have an opportunity to do that again.
Well, they could do their degree program is just redo Minnesota 1 up there. That's what we're gonna we're gonna you know, that road you came in on. Guess what?
Hey, listen, that was done within my memory. I used to teach the geometry of that road. It was actually designed for slower speed than it was supposed to.
Well, okay, so then that's on me. I'll take that hit. That's on me.
Okay. Well, mine goes pretty far, so I'm just talking about one portion of it. So we're gonna both take that.
All right. And Johnson Stewart, once again, there's a special election going on. Senate District 45. It's open seat. The primary for the Democratic side that comes up here in August. Of course, the general election, if Ann Johnson Stewart wins the primary, is going to be happening on Election Day in November. And if people want to find out more about your campaign, how they can help and volunteer, what's the website for them to go to?
It's just my name, Ann Johnson Stewart, and it's Stewart and no E and N. So Ann Johnson Stewart. I would love to have people visit that and find more about me. Thank you so much for this.
No problem. AnnJohnsonStewart.com, AnnJohnsonStewart.com. I'll link to everything on social media a little bit later on. And by all means, all my best. And I'm hoping you go. I'm a big fan of yours. So we'll just hopefully we'll see how this goes on here. I'm very happy you're running for this seat. How about I say it like that?
Matt, that is so kind of you, and I hope to earn your praise 2 years from now, after I've been there for a while again, and in the majority this time. So.
Absolutely. Oh, you deserve that. Ann Johnson Stewart. Remember when they tried to give you all COVID? Oh, yeah, what a hoot. All right.
Yes. Yes, don't even remind me. It's going to be a dream come true to be back, if I get back then.
Ann Johnson Stewart, thank you very much. Let's take a break. Come on back. 952-946-6205. It's the Matt McNeil Show here on your Thursday.